Hi, y'all. Welcome to Tips, Tricks, and Oops. I'm Therese Gorin.
And I'm Sanford Alexander.
And I'm Eston Talavera. This is December 17th, 2012.
Eston, I understand, I had an interesting horror story with my iPhone not too long ago, but you've been dealing with you're so excited about waiting for your 5,
Mm-hmm.
and then you seem to have encountered a couple of little issues with it. And
Well, the iPhone is a wonderful device, and I had my iPhone on AT&T, and it worked for a while fine, and all of a sudden people started talking to me and texting me and saying, "Why are you not answering your phone?" Well, I said, "Well, if I am answering my phone. I'm just not getting calls. Is there something going on here?" And so I looked into it, and whenever I was in my dorm building, sometimes calls wouldn't go through, and sometimes calls would. It was a very random problem, so there really wasn't much AT&T could do about it. But it was still a very unfortunate problem because, like, my parents would call me, and they would not get through, and they would be standing outside waiting for me to come and let them in the dorms.
That's not cool.
No, it's not. That's not good at all.
Keeping the parents waiting on your phone. That's not cool.
And
so, I decided that I was going to take probably an extreme approach to fixing this problem. So what I ended up doing was I ended up finding out that I can get $375 for my AT&T iPhone 5. So I sent my iPhone 5 into Gazelle, and they will take my phone and they will send me a check for $375.
Cha-ching.
So what I did was I went to Verizon and said, "Hey, I want to put my phone number back on Verizon's network and get an iPhone 5 through Verizon." I've only had this. I got the phone. I've only had this phone I've had it since Friday afternoon, so I really haven't had time to check it out and see if it's better or not. But I'm hoping that it's going to have better results, and I won't have people waiting outside.
so you want us all to call you and stand outside
And start
your
calling you
building
and sending your text messages and.
Well, anyone who has my phone number, I'm not giving that out.
I was gonna say, and your number is.
Now, are you saying then, because you were so excited about getting a 5, and Teresa's sitting here with her 4,
Yes.
and I'm sitting around with my 4S,
Mhm.
and we were kind of wondering about should we jump or what, and we both happen to also be AT&T customers.
Mhm.
So are we talking about a phone problem, or are we talking about a telephone network problem?
That is a very good question that unfortunately I'm not sure I have the complete answer to. It was happening more often in the town that we live in than the town that I happen to have my home in. And so that's something that I noticed. I have a friend who tells me that he thinks the only reason that it happened was because of call volume, and that because so many people were using the tower that I was on,
Yeah.
that the phone calls just weren't getting through.
See, now I've noticed with my 4 that my signal just isn't as good as it used to be.
Yeah, and that's a tower. That's a tower issue. You can
mhm.
update your towers pretty easily.
Yeah.
And so that may be just what you need to do. And that's just turning off your phone for like 5 minutes, for like 30 seconds or more.
It didn't seem to fix the problem, that's all.
Oh, well, I
Yeah,
don't know
so.
that. Yeah, that's something I noticed. But Sanford, you had a somewhat bigger problem, I would say.
Probably a little bigger problem
This
than
is
we have
the-
time right now.
Yeah, this is the
Yeah.
Oops edition of our podcast.
Yes.
So, Sanford, why don't you give us a short,
A short version of
Version.
a horror story.
short.
Several weeks ago, I stumbled upon the fact that when I went into my email application and wanted to respond to or send a message, that all I got where my keyboard should be was click, 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 click. And I could not enter a message. I could not find the dictate button to dictate the message. And if we turned VoiceOver off, the keyboard was visibly there and functioned completely properly. So it was a combination problem. It had something to do with VoiceOver and just that application, because my keyboard everywhere else worked perfectly fine. Got a hold of a guy at the the Disability Support Center at Apple.
Accessibility
And
support.
Accessibility, what did I say?
Disability support, sorry.
And he says, that's something I've never seen before. He said, that's not good. And I said, no. He said, an iPhone is more than just a phone. It's got to be your connection to the internet and your contacts and your. Oh, I said, yeah. He said, boy, that's not good. I said, no, it's not.
So what are you
gonna
gonna do
fix
about it? Yeah, what are you gonna do about it?
And he thought about it and he said, well, there's only two things I can think of. The one which is the most radical is to do a factory reset. And I said, that doesn't sound good. And he said, no, not really. And the other one was to clear all my settings. And I said, and what will happen then? He said, well, you'll have to put in all your settings again. You'll lose a lot of, but you shouldn't lose any data. That should work. Well, I said, but what happens process-wise? Because one of the problems with an iPhone is once it goes off and you boot it back up, until it starts talking, you don't know what it's doing. I said, could I reboot it and invoke VoiceOver? He said, no, that won't work. Do you have somebody who can see to help? And I did. And I said, so it'll reboot and then I'll have to put in all my settings. He said, yes. He said, now the only other thing that you might lose, he says, you'll get all your data back, but if you're in a game and you're up at like level 30, you'll probably still have your game, but you might be a level 1.
Aww.
That's not what I said, because I
Aw.
said, no, I'm level 35, and I've got a long time. So that's not good. So,
Yeah.
but we had to do it, and it came up stupider than you could believe. It didn't know where it was. The voice was wrong. The sound was wrong. The speed was everything. It said turn on location services. I had to figure out where location services were. Nothing worked right. Went through. I couldn't check what I really was interested in until I got home. I get home, and as soon as I get into where the Wi-Fi should pick up, nothing. I had to reset Wi-Fi. I said, no, this is not good. So I loaded my game. I get in, it comes up, and it says, we are currently in maintenance, please try again.
Oh, jeez.
I waited a few minutes. I did what I usually do when I get that message, because I'm not sure if it's the phone or the system or the network or the game or the what, but a lot of times just shutting the phone off at that point and starting again. So I shut it off and it came back up. Wi-Fi was still working. I go, oh, that's good. Siri was working again. He knew where he was and he knew what the temperature was. That was good. I loaded the game back up. It came up. I was scared to death to look at the scoreboard at the top where you get what your level is. And I got over level 35. So yes, it worked. It did work. Get everything back, but it was really, and they don't know what the problem was. Now, I've had a couple of times since then where that keyboard went away again, and shutting the phone off and turning the phone back on cleared the problem.
That's
So
good at least.
that would be the tip that I would certainly give everybody. A lot of times, and that's just shutting it off and turning it on. Now, Eston, you don't usually turn your phone off. You usually do a soft reboot, right?
No, what I do is, a lot of times, I don't turn my phone off. I'll turn it onto airplane mode. And that'll turn off all of the cellular radios, the internet radio.
Yeah.
All of those things, it'll force it to get a reconnection to the towers. and that kind of stuff. If I have to reset it, I do a soft reset, but I'm gonna have to figure out something else now, because with my new phone, this didn't happen with my old phone,
Mhm.
but when I perform a soft reset, VoiceOver does not come back on when I triple tap home, and that's a problem for me.
Mhm.
So what I had to do when I did do a soft reset was go to my laptop, plug it in, go to Universal Access, and turn VoiceOver back on.
Wow.
Yeah. So that wasn't good.
Wow.
So I'm going to be making another call to VoiceOver accessibility line at Apple myself pretty soon.
Yeah, that's not a goodie.
See, there are some,
Yeah.
that's what I've heard with some folks that use the Verizon as opposed to AT&T, is that it doesn't.
And see, that's
there
very
are
strange
some,
because
there are
there's
some
no
bugs that don't work on the Verizon network, or some
there's
settings
no
that
difference.
don't stick.
Yeah, there's no difference
No,
between those two.
there's no
really.
difference between
In the
those
software.
two, but the software is the same, but there's something about the network that makes that
So we'll see what
be
happens.
a little bit, yeah.
We will see what happens.
Mhm.
I would just say everything has their pros and cons.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And so actually, we've come up with 4 or 5 little fix-arounds to deal. Would you say general first thing is,
I would say the first thing would be to go into the app switcher by hitting the home button twice, and then closing the app by double tapping and holding one of the applications in your app switcher window.
Mhm.
And then once it says editing applications, I would double tap the application that you want to close.
Mhm.
That would be the first step I would always do to do troubleshooting.
Mhm.
That solves probably half of my problems
Mhm.
right there. The next troubleshooting step I would do is turning off the phone and turning it back on. And then
Mhm.
if that doesn't work, doing a reset do it by holding the home and the power button.
but you won't do that until you can get around your other problem. You're not going to do that on the
No,
go.
I'm not going to do that on the go, or I'm not going to do that until I figure out how to get VoiceOver back on easier.
Sometimes I can plug it into, if I've got a problem with anything, I can just plug it into iTunes.
Yeah, that's what I just did, was
and
plug it in
it-
iTunes.
Yeah, and it fixes it.
So, but I think and Therese, did you have a horror story with your iPhone 4? I think you did, but I think we covered it
Just the
our
alarm
last
clock.
episode.
Yeah, just the alarm clock. There's not,
Okay.
but I'll have to I'll let you know what happens with that one as we go along.
All right.
See if I can
Well,
figure out what to do
I
with
think we're good then. I'm Eston.
I'm Sanford.
Trees.
Thanks for watching.